I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into another episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be talking about everything that took place in the first 2 episodes of the new Hawkeye Disney Plus series. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney Plus and check out both of those episodes, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
Of episodes 1 and 2 of the new Hawkeye series, it's Johnny Rico.
He didn't take the potion.
He didn't take the potion.
He didn't take the potion at all.
So what did you like? This series was awesome. Like
Yeah.
Everybody was saying it was going to be good and stuff like that, but I'm going to be honest, Hawkeye was never like my favorite Avenger. So
Anyone's. I
was hoping that it was going to be awesome, but I was blown away. I thought these 2 episodes were awesome. Like, these were incredible. My that's pretty much my initial reactions. Really, like the first thing I have to say is I love that they firmly planted Kate Bishop in the MCU in like a battle that we already knew that like took place. Like, any Marvel fan has seen the first Avengers and knows that the Battle of New York took place in 2012 and knew like all of that, all that was happening and stuff like that. And so we immediately get like the opening scene to that in 2012. It was reminiscent of the very first episode of the Loki series, where they firmly like established where he is in the timeline and stuff like that. I just thought it was a perfect way to put in a new character into the MCU in a scene and in a time that we already all knew. Like, being a Marvel fan and definitely of seeing the first Avengers movie, we all knew like where that was happening, when it was happening, and stuff like that. So I just thought that was a really cool way of her introduction into the MCU without knowing anything about the character whatsoever. We already know where she exists and when she existed in the MCU to start. And I just thought that was a really cool thing to have, basically. Next up, the Rogers musical. Like, we've already all been making jokes about this. This is absolutely incredible. We got exactly what we wanted. We got Clint in the audience with his kids, and he turns off his hearing aid because he's just like, this is ridiculous. I was there.
Oh,
I'm
with him.
Yeah. And I love it. He goes, yeah, that guy wasn't even in there. And referring to somebody who was dressed as Ant-Man. Like, he's like, yeah, that guy wasn't even there. Like,
you don't know. He was really small.
Yeah, I just thought that was hilarious, and the last like initial reaction that I definitely had to mention was I feel bad for Scott Lang in the MCU basically at this point, because if you remember from Avengers Endgame, when he's in that diner with Smart Hulk.
You want to grab one with me? I'm Ant-Man. They're Hulk fans. Wait, they don't know Ant-Man.
Oh, he
nobody
feels bad.
does. Nobody does.
No, he wants you.
He
wants to take a picture with them.
Yeah, look, he's even saying no, he doesn't.
They're visibly like no, and that one kid's like shaking his head no. No one gives a shit about taking a picture with Scott Lang. But then there's kids in Times Square years later that are like going up to a person that's dressed up like Ant-Man and taking pictures. And look, I've walked through Times Square many times on the way to work. Those mascots are all there and they want to take pictures with you and they charge you money immediately. So that means that person in a knockoff Ant-Man suit is making money off of taking pictures with kids who never want to take pictures with the real Ant-Man. I feel so bad for Scott Lang. But anyway, what did you think? What are your initial impressions of both episodes 1 and 2 so far?
I really enjoyed both episodes a lot. I read the Matt Fraction comics that the show's based off of, and so I was actually really excited for the show. It lives up to my expectations, at least. there's some really great character dynamic with Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, of course. Get to see the tracksuit mafia. We get to see Pizza Dog, like all these things. I'm gonna get into all that stuff later on when my takeaway, but I really enjoyed the way these 2 episodes flowed together. I think if you had just enjoyed, or not enjoyed, but if you just released 1 episode, it wouldn't have really worked as well. So this was a good like part 1 and 2 to kick us off into the rest of the story. And I'm really excited. It's like a really kind of like a murder mystery overall.
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I was already talking to you about this, how I really liked how both episodes ended, because it wasn't like maybe it wasn't like a such a tease for the next thing, but it led me to want to immediately see the next episode, and I really hope that that's kind of the trend after every episode, where it just leads you to want to see the next, like what's coming up type of thing. It's not just like, oh yeah, here's the end of the episode. I really like that. I was like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you want to get into
Well, I wanted also to bring up that you were talking about Kate's introduction scene when she was a little girl from the Battle of New York, of course. So of course she grows up, she's a rich girl, but her perspective is seeing that classic Hawkeye shot where he jumps off the roof and repels himself into the floor above or below him. And that's pretty cool how she sees that and she's like, I want to be that guy right there. Not that he's flying around doing that, because also he saved her. That we've kind of forget too, like the Chitauri were coming after her basically, and then he's boom melted that thing right in front of her.
Yep.
So she's like, yeah, I want to be that guy basically, and that's kind of. And then I really loved the way the opening credits kind of laid out her whole story as she grew up too. So it's like she doesn't just do this stuff out of thin air. She is trained in all these different little assets to become who she becomes.
It was a perfect way to not spend a ton of time, like actual like scenes and stuff like that, to build it during all the credits, giving us basically exactly like what you said. We're getting a training montage without the montage, and it was perfect in doing that. It was like a really ingenious way of giving us all of this training stuff without having to, you know, film all of these scenes or add an extra 10 minutes to the episode or waste 10 minutes in the episode from the other stuff that we got to see, type of thing. The last thing I was going to say before we get to big takeaways is that I really feel like this felt like a movie in a good way. Like, not that it was too long or anything like that, but it just, scenes unfolded. They took the time in every scene to unfold and to really give us a good picture of everything. Like, we got kind of the parallels of Kate with her mom, and then it would parallel immediately with Clint and his kids, type of thing. Like, we were going back and forth and back and forth. And I really liked that. I really liked feeling like this was kind of, we're not going to just rush through anything. We're going to give you a nice, well laid out story in every episode. I mean, the first 2 episodes are 50 minutes each. Like, it's awesome. Like, in length.
On an hour-long show, which is pretty cool.
Exactly. So I really, it felt very cinematic to me, and in a very good way, type of thing. Like, where I just felt like they're taking the time to really give us everything that they want to give us, and you know, help us really get into this entire series and these 2 characters. Basically, we're finding way more out about not only Kate Bishop but also Clint Barton. Like, we're just, you know, I didn't know he was that deaf, basically. No. Because there has been no reference to the MCU Hawkeye going deaf. Now, I know in the comics there are plenty of references to Hawkeye having hearing problems and being deaf and stuff like that. And there are other MCU characters that we're going to start seeing in this series and in other Disney Plus shows and stuff like that are hearing impaired or are deaf completely. And I think it's a cool detail that we're now getting is kind of that really quick montage of why Clint Barton is having all of these hearing problems, and how, you know, basically how the side effects of being a hero, basically, like, on his body. Because at the end of the day, he's not superhuman or anything like that. So this is the toll that being a superhero has taken on his body after years of doing this. And that really quick montage I thought was perfect. It really, you know, it didn't explain everything, like take the time to really like go into it all, but that quick montage explains everything, because like it's all from other movies, and so it makes total sense.
Yeah, and there's that one like random explosion in there that I'm like, I don't remember seeing that explosion from any movie, so I'm really curious to see what that particular explosion is if they do show us.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, hopefully they do, or maybe we're just gonna find out that that was Budapest. There's like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Stock footage and stuff like that.
there's plenty of references that we just never put, and we
Yeah.
never actually see in like a movie or anything like that. But anyway, you want to get the big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So I'll kick this off. First big takeaway. I have to say it. Let's go LARPing. Here's the funniest thing though, and it's immediately the first thing that I thought of when he shows up at the LARPing site and everything. There's another Avenger in another movie that has also been LARPing.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And
do you?
Yeah, it's Role Models.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's one of my other favorite movies.
Yeah.
So we actually had Scott
It
Lang.
was kind of the same. Like he was kind of took the same approach as Paul Rudd's character. Like when he's like, "Kiss the ring," and Paul Rudd's like, "No."
And he's there. He's just there in normal clothes and just following around. Yeah, I just immediately reminiscent of that whole thing.
Even the way he ends with grills, how they're like, it's kind of the same way he ends at the end when he's kind of like, "Yeah, give me your email. Call me back next year."
Yeah, it's perfect. And I was just like, it's the second Avenger that's gone LARPing. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that scene.
Oh, it was great. So what was your first big takeaway?
So I really just wanted to kind of touch back on what I was talking about earlier, but the overall love to the Matt Fraction comic book series that this show is based off of, and man, they are pulling pretty much straight from this comic book, from the way Kate and Clint interact with each other, to Lucky the pizza dog and how he's introduced. And you can't make a golden retriever any more cute than they already are, but if you swell up one of his eyes a little bit, like, oh darn it, like I love this dog more than the other golden retrievers now. And then you put pizza in his mouth, and it's even better. Yeah. And the tracksuit mafia, like I remember reading these guys and just seeing how every sentence would end with "bro." Like, we gotta get Hawkeye, bro. We're gonna get you, bro. And it's just, I remember thinking they were like Armenian when I was reading the comic, because a lot of Armenians I know say "bro" a lot too. But I'm like, oh, the Russian. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, that actually makes a lot more sense. Maybe a little more like cliche for TV to make him like a Russian gang in New York, maybe. But man, like everything that they're doing, even the logo of the show is the logo from the comic book series itself. That's like the way it's drawn in lowercase letters is the exact same. And the opening credits that we were talking about earlier, the art style is straight up from the comics itself, which so it's really cool that I think they have Matt Fraction on as a consultant for the show too. So I'm like,
cool.
all in on this, and I'm really excited to see how much more of it they keep going forward.
Yeah, it's totally awesome. I had a roommate, past roommate actually, who was into the comics, so I do remember seeing the books.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand what you're talking about with the artwork at the beginning and for the credits and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never read them. I want to now. Like, this series is already making 2 episodes in, and it's already making me want to go into the source material.
Yeah, and Clint acts more like he does in this show. He acts like he does in that particular comic book. Like, Clint's like a little bit more funny in this. He obviously he has to deal with Kate, and so he's more labor. So it's that kind of like father-daughter dynamic they have. Like, they're kind of more brother-sister, I think, in the comics. It feels like, because I think they're closer in age. The way Clint's portrayed in the comics, he's not really portrayed as like much older. But that whole like, oh, I'm exhausted, like that, like everything he was doing, like literally when he's about to fight Grills, he's like, and I fought Thanos, like, and he ain't doing this. Like, it's just like those little short lines that he has are like perfect little touch of comedy to his character that I actually really like.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I think the comedy that's been sprinkled in, I think, is perfect so far. So you ready for the last big takeaway?
Yeah, let me see what you got, Danny.
Awesome. It's nothing special. I feel like there's no giant reveal this time yet. We're waiting for other stuff. But this one is more of a question. What is Jack up to? Like, what is he in? What's going on? This is going to lead into predictions and stuff like that, but I don't trust his face. Like, immediately, like, as soon as he's introduced, that's him. He's supposed to be that. Like, we're supposed to be like, okay, we don't trust this guy because Kate doesn't trust him also. But with the butterscotch candy that has the dead guy's name on it and everything, like, what is he doing? Like,
the whole fencing scene.
Yeah.
That was a great scene, by the way. I thought that was actually one of my favorite scenes of the 2 episodes. I just love how every time he let her win, he just like he did that smug laugh and just like, oh, I hate this guy so much.
Yeah.
There's something about that stupid mustache on his face. I don't think it matches, and it just makes me want to punch him. So yeah, I really hope he gets the business at some point.
Yeah. I'm just dying to figure out how he's connected, because look, there's some shady shit going on with him, and I just want to know what's going on. And that kind of leads into predictions. You ready?
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Dude, your prediction kind of leads right into what you were just talking about. So
all right,
let's hear it.
Perfect. So I have 2 really quick ones. First one is, with Jack. I definitely think we're gonna find out that Jack is working with whatever villains are going to be, and ultimately in this series, basically. But not only that, I think we're going to get a classic twist where Kate's mom is also working with the villains. Like, I don't know if she's going to be like the master villain, like at the very top, or if she's going to be just kind of working with Jack and in on it, basically. But I think we're going to get that kind of classic twist where it's going to be like Kate's on the good side with Hawkeye, and it's going to be there's going to be that twist where we're going to find out that Kate's mom is actually working with the villains in this one. I feel it coming. We already know, like, we've already agreed Jack's shady. So, but I don't think it's that out of the question. That it's like a half a step that I think Kate's mom is definitely in on some of the shadiness type of thing. Also, how rich is Kate's mom? Like, super rich, right?
Security company, dude.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Yeah, you're making bank off of that kind of job. But I wonder, so again, tying it all back to the comics again, I wonder if they're doing an MCU version of Madame Mask, who is a prominent villain in the comic book series, but they're just making her Kate's mom, I think, in this. So I think that would be a cool way to kind of blend the two things. If you do, like, again, we were talking about this earlier. I don't think you cast Vera Farmiga in this role and just have her be a side character mom to an MCU character. Like, she's too good of an actress. She's too like high profile of a name to even just put in that kind of a role. Like, if you want to just make her a mom, you could have just put anybody in that role, really. Right. So I think that's going to be she's got some bigger implications, I think. She's
in on the shadiness. At some part,
she's trying to deflect everything that Kate throws at her into being like, oh, stop it. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, like, how do you not listen to your kid on this stuff? That's red flags all over the place.
Right. So that's my first. My second, and I just want to go on record. Look, I want this to happen. If it doesn't happen, I won't be disappointed. But I just wanted to throw it out there early in case I'm right. Then we have this video to go back to. My second prediction is, I think we're going to see Yelena at some point in this series going after Clint. He's getting, like, I think the fact that the Ronin costume came into play so early, and that's bringing like a surge of news and all these people out of the woodwork to try to find and attack like Ronin. I think that's gonna spark Yelena to know, like, oh shit, that was one of the aliases of Clint type of thing, and I think she's gonna head to New York City also. So I just think at some point we're gonna have a Yelena sighting.
Yeah, that photo that Val gives Yelena in the credit scene of Black Widow is a photo of Clint in the Ronin suit too. It's not.
He's in the suit. It's hard to tell, but he's got the haircut for sure. He doesn't have the mask on. That would be the only thing like that I understand.
It's pretty clear. Because that's what he's been doing the entire time. That's probably when he made an enemy out of Val that way, and that's probably why she's doing this.
I wonder.
He made a lot of enemies in that suit.
Yeah. I wonder if he made an enemy out of doing something against Val, or if he just refused to work with Val, and that's how he became an enemy of her. You know, like almost like, I'm gonna burn you because you don't agree to work with me.
Turn down the offer type of thing. Yeah.
Right. So what are your predictions?
Okay. So we end episode 2, and someone's bumping some music in a room by themselves, and it turns out it is Echo, who it's kind of a reveal that a lot of people probably like scratch their heads at, I would think, if you don't know who she is. But she is a deaf superhero that you mentioned earlier. She has ties to the Ronin suit. I think she is Ronin at some point in the comics. Yeah. So I'm curious to see if her story plays into the Ronin suit or just the Ronin identity at all. But also, her arrival in the MCU could be bigger than we think, because for street level characters in the MCU, there's a few important ones and missing still. And she's got some ties to Daredevil.
Mhm.
And her father, I believe, was killed by Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. And I've seen a few rumors of Wilson Fisk, played by Vincent D'Onofrio from the Netflix show, showing up in this series. And I remember when a trailer came out, he like retweeted it and talking about how he was excited. And I just thought, like, why would you do that to us? Like, he's one of those dudes, and he loves playing that role too. And
Yeah.
and I was thinking when I was watching these episodes, like this show is like the closest I think we've gotten to the MCU, not the MCU, the Marvel Netflix shows that were on. So like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that. But if those shows actually had an MCU vibe to it.
Right.
Like we were always told those shows were in the MCU when really they were like, no, those aren't really in the MCU. But here, like when it's filmed the way MCU movies are filmed, like it's done the right way. And I think Multiverse of Madness, baby. I think we're getting some more people blending in.
Yeah.
And I think those are just characters you could have just thrown in anyway, because like why not? They didn't overall impact the universe in a way that makes it like impossible for them to be there.
Right.
It's just now you can just be like, yeah, they're here. Like let's just do it. Now let's do it. Or like let's just go all in with it. Give me Kingpin, give me Daredevil. I think Daredevil in Echo's show, when she has her own series later on, will be probably more suitable for that appearance. But I think Kingpin in this show would be the big like whoa reveal for Hawkeye to get people to watch.
Yeah. I would definitely say whoa if all of us, even if we just got a tease like in the last episode of Vincent.
Just show me him staring at a blank wall again. And give me that.
That confirms everything. Like we're in, and that's
the final shot of the final episode. I'll be okay with it.
That would give me goosebumps and chills.
We'll
like,
know.
Goosebumps and chills. Like
110%.
That would be awesome. But anyway, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 1 and 2 of the Hawkeye series? And what do you think is going to happen next? And who do you think is going to end up being the big bad villain of this series? Do you think it's going to be Kingpin? Which would be incredible if we see that, even if it's just teased at the end. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest video releases. Bye, everybody!